I'll never forget the day I caught Linda poking into my life, not barging in herself, but sending a drone to buzz over my ranch like some cut-rate sci-fi gadget straight out of a graphic novel. Its tiny camera caught the sunlight, practically taunting me with smug confidence. I'm Ethan Carter, and if you've ever wondered what happens when a small-town control freak with a clipboard takes on a guy who'd rather tangle with a coyote than bow to an HOA's demands, buckle up, this one's a ride. Drop a comment below. Have you ever dealt with a Linda? It all started innocently enough, or so I thought. I'd been levying on my family's ranch in Cedar Hollow, Texas, for 5 years, keeping to myself, raising cattle, and sipping iced tea on my porch like a proper Texan. The land's been ours since 1923, when my great-grandpa Amos staked it out with barbed wire and a nod. Fast forward to last summer, and the Cedar Hollow HOA, led by the one and only Linda Grayson, decided my 200 acres were the perfect spot for their shiny new solar panel project. Never mind that I owned it. Never mind that I'd said no. Linda doesn't hear no, she hears challenge accepted. Trouble first showed up as a letter taped to my gate, bright pink paper, HOA logo stamped like it was a royal edict. Dear Mr. Carter, it read. The Cedar Hollow Homeowners Association has voted to install solar panels on the unused portion of your property for the community's benefit. Construction begins next week. I laughed so hard my dog Scout gave me a look like I'd lost it. Unused? My cattle grazed there. Community benefit? They just wanted cheaper bills for their cookie-cutter mansions 4 miles away. I crumpled it, tossed it into the burn pile, and figured that was that. I was wrong. 2 days later, I'm out mending a fence when I spot Ida drone zipping over my pasture. We VYing between my cows like it's shooting a nature documentary. I waved my hat, thinking some kid was messing around, but it swooped closer, and I saw the sticker, property of Cedar Hollow HOA. My temper flared. Linda wasn't just sending letters, she was spying. I snapped the photo with my phone and called my buddy Nate, a lawyer in Austin. Nate, I said, you ever hear of an HOA using drones to hassle folks? He chuckled. Ethan, you've got a gem there. Check your deed, old ranches like yours have secrets baked in. That night, I rummaged through the attic, past faded quilts and Grandpa Amos's old bourbon stash, until I found the original deed, yellowed and brittle, with a handwritten note tucked inside. Covenant of 1923, it read. No entity, public or private, may encroach upon this land without consent of the Carter bloodline. My pulse quickened. Grandpa Amos, you sly old dog, I muttered. He just handed me a legal lifeline. I didn't know it yet, but Linda was in for a surprise. Meanwhile, across town, Linda was holding court at the HOA meeting, her voice slicing through the community center like a knife. Ethan Carter's a relic, she scoffed, tossing her dyed auburn hair. That ranch is an eyesore, and those solar panels are going in whether he likes it or not. The board nodded like trained seals, sipping their cappuccinos, oblivious to the storm brewing. She'd already ordered Dula $15,000 worth of panels and hired a sketchy contractor named Mitch, who reeked of cheap aftershave and worse judgment. Linda thought she'd steamroll me with red tape and a fake smile. She didn't expect me to push back. Back at the ranch, that drone stuck in my head, Linda's smug face behind it, plotting. I stepped outside, the night air crisp, stars blazing over the hills. Then I saw it again, that same drone gliding over my barn like a nosy ghost. Oh hell no, I growled. That's when it hit me, his wasn't just about land. With Grandpa Amos's ace in my pocket, I was ready to fight. So there I was, Ethan Carter, in my barn at midnight, flashlight in one hand, rake in the other, ready to swat Linda's drone out of the sky like a mosquito at a cookout. That little spy gadget hovered overhead, mocking me, and I wasn't about to let it zip back to HOA headquarters with footage of my hurt or worse, me tripping over a hay bale. I swung the rake, missed by a mile, and nearly ate dirt. Fine, I muttered. You want to play dirty, Linda? Let's dance. Next morning I roared into town, deed in hand, and met Nate at Maggie's diner over biscuits and coffee. He slid his glasses down, studying Grandpa Amos's covenant like it was a treasure map. Ethan, he said, grinning, this is bulletproof. No one's touching your land without your say-so. But that drone? That's a privacy violation. Texas law doesn't play with that. I leaned back, gravy dripping off my fork. So what's the plan? Nate's eyes glinted. We sue. But first, let's have some fun, beat her at her own game. Fun? I was all in. Meanwhile, Linda was in her element, strutting around the HOA officia repurposed shed with a crooked welcome sign. She pinned a map of my ranch to the wall, Red X's marking her solar panel takeover. Mitch, she barked at the contractor, who was glued to his phone like it was his job. Start digging tomorrow. Carter won't know till it's too late. Mitch grunted. Sure he won't run me off with a rifle? Linda smirked. He's all bark, no bite. Besides, I've got proof, he agreed. She waved a forged letter, my signature scrawled in what looked like a kid's marker. Mitch shrugged. Your funeral, lady. Back at the ranch, I wasn't sitting still. Nate had a friend, Claire, who ran a drone shop in Austin. By noon, I was unboxing my own high-tech toy, a sleek gray model with a camera sharper than Linda's attitude. If she's watching me, I told Scout, who tilted his head like he was taking notes, I'm watching her. That afternoon, I sent it soaring over the HOA clubhouse, catching Linda mid-rant, while VYing that fake letter like it was a royal decree. I saved the footage, grinning like it was Christmas morning. Two could play the spy game, and I just RSVP'd. The next day, things escalated. I'm checking my herd when I spot dust clouds, a truck hauling solar panels barreling onto my land. I sprinted to the gate, heart pounding, and planted myself like a roadblock. Turn around, pal, I shouted. The driver, Mitch, leaned out, chewing a toothpick. HOA says this is theirs. Got papers? He flashed Linda's forgery. I let out a laugh wild enough to startle my cows. Buddy, you're walking into a legal buzzsaw. Leave or I call the sheriff. Mitch hesitated, then peeled out, leaving tire marks and a string of curses. Score 1 for Ethan. That night, I pulled up my drone footage on my laptop, Linda's forged letter clear as day. I called Nate. She's faking my signature now. What's next? Stealing my social security number. Nate whistled. That's a felony. We've got her, Ethan, but let's reel her in slow. Make her think she's winning. I loved it. Linda thought she was running this chess game, but I was about to flip the board. Across town, Linda wasn't resting. She paced her pristine kitchen, sipping wine from a glass big enough to hold a goldfish. He can't stop progress, she muttered, glaring at a photo of me she'd clipped from the HOA newsletter like I was a wanted man. She dialed Mitch. Double the drones tomorrow. I want eyes on that ranch 24/7. Mitch groaned. That's extra cash. Linda snapped, bill it to the HOA. This is war. She had no idea I was 2 steps ahead, my own drone charging in the barn, ready to catch her every misstep. Back at the ranch, I sat on my porch, Deed beside me, Scout snoring at my feet. The stars glowed bright, like Grandpa Amos was tipping his hat from above. Linda thought she'd bury me in paperwork and panels, but I had history, law, and a little tech on my side. The fight was heating up, and I couldn't wait to see her face when she realized she'd tangled with the wrong rancher. By now, I was in knee-deep in a war I didn't start but was damn sure going to finish. My ranch was a battlefield, Linda's drones circling like buzzards over a fresh kill. I'd caught her forging my signature, and with Grandpa Amos's covenant in my pocket, I felt like a cowboy with a loaded rifle. But Linda? She was doubling down, and I was about to make her regret it. The morning after Mitch's failed invasion, I woke to a sight that'd make any rancher's blood boil, tire tracks crisscrossing my pasture, left by some midnight trespasser. I grabbed my binoculars and spotted a crew 3 guys in yellow vests unloading solar panels near my creek. Linda hadn't just sent Mitch back, she'd hired a whole squad. I stormed over, boots kicking up dust, and yelled, "You're on private land. Pack it up." The lead guy, a wiry dude named Pete, smirked. HOA says this is theirs. Talk to Linda. I grinned back, sharp as a bobcat's claws. Oh, I will, but you're VYing now. They hesitated, then bolted when I pulled out my phone to call the sheriff. Linda's crew was bold, but not that bold. Meanwhile, across town, Linda was spinning her web in the HOA clubhouse, pacing like a trapped coyote. She'd called an emergency meeting, her auburn hair bouncing with every dramatic wave. Ethan Carter's a nuisance, she declared, slamming a stack of papers, half of them fake. I'd bet my herd on it. He's holding up progress with his outdated cowboy act. We'll bury him in fines. The board murmured approval, too spineless to cross her. She'd upped the budget another $20,000 $20,000 for drones and legal fees, paid with HOA dues. My neighbor Sophie, who secretly despised Linda, texted me the dirt. She's losing it, Ethan. Watch your back. Back at the ranch, I wasn't just watching, I was plotting. Nate came over, laptop in tow, and we're VYU'd my drone footage. Linda's forged letter was gold, but we needed more. She's breaking laws left and right, Nate said, tapping the screen. Trespassing, forgery, drone violations. Let's set a trap. His plan? Let her dig deeper while I play dumb. So I called Claire, my drone guru, and upgraded my setup to more drones, motion sensors, the works. If she wants a show, I told Scout, who wagged his tail like he was in on it, I'll give her one she'll never forget. That afternoon, I flew my drones low, catching Linda's crew sneaking back with shovels and stakes. I recorded every move, their yellow vests glowing like caution signs on my screen. At the same time, Sophie was at the HOA meeting, pretending to nod along while texting me updates. Linda's bragging about eminent domain now. Says the county's on her side. I laughed. Eminent domain for solar panels? She was clutching at straws, and I had the footage to prove it. By nightfall, the game shifted again. I'm on my porch, sipping tea, when headlights flash Mitch's truck rolling up with a trailer of panels, Linda herself in the passenger seat. She hopped out, clipboard in hand, her smile tighter than new boots. Ethan, she chirped, this is your last chance to cooperate. Sign here, and we'll call it even. She thrust a new document at me, another fake, fresh off her printer. I leaned in, voice low. Linda, you're trespassing. Leave or I press charges. Her eyes narrowed. You'll regret this. She stormed off, Mitch peeling out behind her. I knew she'd just lit the fuse on her own downfall. Back in her McMansion, Linda wasn't sleeping, she was scheming. She sat at her desk, surrounded by HOA rulebooks and an empty wine bottle, scribbling notes. He thinks he's smart, she muttered, dialing her cousin, a shady county clerk named Tara. Pull some strings. I need his land rezoned. Tara sighed. That's risky, Linda. But Linda didn't care, she was all in, blind to the trap closing around her. On my end, I couldn't stop grinning. Nate had filed a complaint with the sheriff about the trespassing, and my drones were piling up evidence like a winning slot machine. The covenant was my shield, the law my sword, and Linda's arrogance her Achilles heel. I leaned back, staring at the stars, feeling Grandpa Amos cheering me on. This wasn't just a fight, it was a reckoning, and I was ready to bring it home. I was running on grit and sweet tea now, my rancho fortress under siege by Linda's HOA army. Her drones kept buzzing, her crews kept trespassing, and I kept stacking evidence like a poker player hiding aces. With Grandpa Amos's covenant as my trump card and Nate's legal smarts in my corner, I was ready to turn the tables. But Linda? She was about to make her boldest move yet, and I couldn't wait to call her bluff. The morning after her late-night VY sit, I woke to a sheriff's cruiser pulling up my drive, dust swirling like a storm cloud. Sheriff Hawkins, a no-nonsense guy with a mustache like a wire brush, stepped out. Ethan, he said, tipping his hat, got a complaint from the HOA. Says you're harassing them with drones. I nearly spat my coffee. Harassing them? I invited him in, showed him my footage, Linda's cruise, her forged papers, her drones over my barn. His jaw tightened. This ain't right. I'll dig into it. I grinned. Appreciate it, Sheriff. Tell Linda I said hi. He tipped his hat and left, but I knew she'd just poked the wrong bear. Meanwhile, Linda was across town, orchestrating her next strike from her HOA war room. She turned the clubhouse into a command center, maps, coffee cups, a whiteboard scrawled with Carter plan in red marker. She'd roped in Tara, who dug up an old zoning loophole. It's shaky, Tara warned, twirling her pen, but I can push a rezoning request through. Might scare him off. Linda's eyes gleamed. Do it. And send more drones flood his ranch. She wasn't just fighting now, she was spiraling, and I had a front row seat. Back at the ranch, I wasn't idle. Nate swung by with news the sheriff had opened an investigation into Linda's trespassing, and my drone footage was Exhibit A. She's cooked, Nate said, slapping the table, but let's push her over the edge. File a countersuit, invasion of privacy, forgery, the works. I nodded, picturing Linda's face when she got served. Then Claire called me. Drone upgrades were live, with night VY shown and a live feed to my phone. She wants a drone war? I told Scout, who perked up like he smelled trouble. She's got one. That afternoon, the skies over my ranch turned into a sci-fi flick, Linda's drones swooping low. My drones tailing them. Cameras flashing like paparazzi. I caught her crew sneaking back, planting stakes near my creek again, and sent the footage to Nate. At the same time, Sophie texted from the HOA meeting. Linda's losing it, yelling about eminent domain and community rights. Claims you're a public menace. I laughed so hard Scout barked. A menace? Me, the guy just trying to keep his cows happy? Then came the showdown. I'm fixing a gate when Linda rolls up, this time with the county official in tow, a nervous guy named Carl clutching a clipboard. Mr. Carter, Carl stammered. The county's reviewing your land zoning. It might be reclassified for public use. Linda smirked behind him, arms crossed like she'd already won. I stepped closer, voice calm but hard. Carl, you're being fed lies. Check my deed 1923 covenant, untouchable. And Linda, you're on camera forging my name. Sheriff's got it all. Carl paled. Linda's smirk vanished. You're bluffing, she hissed. I shrugged. Try me. She stormed off, dragging Carl with her, but the cracks were showing. That night, back in her kitchen, Linda was unraveling. She paced, wine glass trembling, muttering, he can't prove anything. Tara called, voice shaky. Linda, the rezoning's dead. His deed's legit, and the sheriff's asking questions. Linda slammed the phone down, eyes wild. She was cornered and knew it, but she wasn't done swinging. On my porch, I watched the stars, my phone pinging with drone alerts, Linda's last desperate scouts over my land. Nate's countersuit was filed, the sheriff was circling, and Sophie was feeding me HOA gossip. Linda thought she'd bluff her way to Vitória, but I'd built a wall of proof she couldn't climb. Grandpa Amos's legacy was holding strong, and I could almost hear him chuckling from the heavens. This was my ranch, my fight, and Linda was about to learn what happens when you bet against a Carter. I'd reached the Ingamami ranch still standing, my drones humming, and Linda's HOA schemes teetering on collapse. With Grandpa Amos's covenant as my shield, Nate's legal firepower as my cannon, and a mountain of EVY Denke from my high-tech toys, I was ready to finish this. Linda, though, was clinging to her throne like a queen in a crumbling castle, and I couldn't wait to watch it fall. The next morning, Nate called. Court date set for tomorrow. Sheriff's testifying, and your footage is locked and loaded. I grinned, picturing Linda's face when she saw her forged letter blown up on a courtroom screen. That day I suited up, boots polished, hat tipped low, and drove to the Cedar Hollow courthouse, Scout watching me go like he knew I was off to slay a dragon. The air buzzed as I walked in, townsfolk whispering in the halls. Word had spread the rancher versus the HOA tyrant was the showdown of the year. Meanwhile, Linda was prepping her last stand. She strutted into the courthouse in a power suit, heels clicking like she owned the place, Tara trailing with a stack of shaky papers. She'd spent the night cobbling together a defense half-baked claims about community need and a rezoning plea that had already flopped. He's a bully, she hissed to her board members, who'd shown up for support or to watch the crash. I'll crush him. But her hand shook as she clutched her coffee, and I could smell the panic from across the room. The courtroom was packed, Sophie in the back, texting me play-by-plays, Sheriff Hawkins up front, and Nate beside me, cool as ice. The judge, a no-nonsense woman named Ellen, called us up. Nate laid it out: trespassing, forgery, privacy violations, backed by my drone footage, time-stamped and crystal clear. Linda's crew sneaking onto my land, her drones over my barn, that fake letter with my name scrawled like a bad prunket was a slam dunk. The sheriff nodded along, confirming he'd caught her minions red-handed. Linda's turn came, and she tried. She stood tall, voice dripping with fake sincerity. Your Honor, Mr. Carter's obstructing progress. The HOA acted in good faith for the community. She waved her forged papers, claiming I'd agreed. Nate pounced. Objection, those are falsified. We have the originals plus VY Deo of MS. Grayson drafting them. The screen lit up. There she was in her clubhouse, scribbling away. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Linda's face went white, then red, then white again like a broken traffic light. The judge wasn't havying it. MS. Grayson, Ellen snapped. You violat property laws, fabricated EY Denke, and wasted this court's time. Explain yourself. Linda stammered. Two thought it was legal. Ellen cut her off. Ignorance isn't a defense. Sit down. The gavel slammed, and I swear I felt Grandpa Amos high-fiving me from above. Nate whispered, We've got her, Ethan. This is over. Back at her McMansion, chaos reigned. Word of the hearing spread like wildfire. Sophie texted me, HOA boards in revolt, demanding Linda resign. Tara's frantic theory auditing her. Linda paced, wine glass empty, yelling at shadows. I'll appeal. He can't win. But her phone kept buzzing, residents furious, allies bailing. She'd built her empire on sand and the tide was rolling in. On my ranch, I celebrated quietly, tea on the porch, Scout at my feet, my drones resting in the barn. The judge hadn't ruled yet, but the writing was on the wall. Linda was done, my land was safe, and her solar panels? They'd be mine soon enough. I leaned back, staring at the stars, feeling lighter than I had in months. This wasn't just a win, it was justice, Texas style, and Linda's last stand had turned into her last fall. Here I am, standing on my porch, the sun sinking low, painting my ranch in gold of Abu Linda tried to steal but couldn't touch. The courtroom dust had settled, and I'd come out on top, Grandpa Amos's covenant my winning hand, and Linda's empire a pile of rubble. This wasn't just a fight for my land, it was a Texas-sized lesson in picking the wrong enemy. Stick around, folks, and let me know in the comments, what would you do with a nosy HOA tyrant like Linda? The judge's ruling hit like lightning a week later. Ellen didn't hold back. Ms. Grayson, you've abused your position, broken laws, and harassed a private citizen. The HOA's claims are dismissed. Then the hammer dropped me countersuit 1. Trespassing, forgery, privacy violations, all pinned on Linda. The penalties? $75,000 in damages plus court costs to me and those solar panels she dumped on my land? Legally mine, along with 5 acres of HOA green space. I laughed so hard Scout howled, thinking it was a game. Meanwhile, Linda's world collapsed. At her McMansion, she watched movers haul out her furniture, sunk her SAVYNGS into the HOA war chest, and the bank was foreclosing. Sophie texted me the gossip. She's done, Ethan. Board fired her, residents want blood. Linda stood on her lawn, yelling at the movers, her auburn hair a mess, wine stains on her shirt. This is Carter's fault. She screeched, but no one listened. Her drones were confiscated, her reputation trashed. By sundown, a for sale sign pierced her yard, and whispers said she'd bolted to Arizona, probably to terrorize some poor condo board next. Victory tasted sweet. Nate swung by with the paperwork, grinning. You're a legend, Ethan. HA's scrambling theory broke in begging for peace. I signed the deeds, claiming my new solar panels and that extra land. Claire helped hook the panels up, free power for the ranch, courtesy of Linda's obsession. The 5 acres? I turned it into a pasture extension, my cows grazing where her dreams once stood. Every time I flipped a switch or watched my herd, I tipped my hat to Grandpa Amos. His 1923 trick had saved the day, and I'd sealed the deal. The town couldn't stop talking. At Maggie's diner, folks slapped my back, calling me the ranch rebel. Sheriff Hawkins winked. Next time, Ethan, just call me first. I'd have hauled her off sooner. Sophie spilled the final scoop. The HOA dissolved, too broke and embarrassed to limp on. Linda's reign was a memory, replaced by a quiet cedar hollow where folks minded their own fences. I'd not only won, I'd rewritten the rules. That night, I sat on my porch, tea in hand, Scout sprawled beside me. The stars glittered brighter than ever, and I felt Grandpa Amos's pride beaming down. My drones rested in the barn, their work done, my land secure. Those panels glowed faintly in the distance, Linda's legacy, now mine. I'd turned her war into my win, and the peace was worth every second of the fight. So what's next? Who knows, maybe another Linda's out there, itching for a showdown. But for now, I'm just a rancher with a story, a dog, and a ranch that's mine forever. Drop a comment. What's your wildest neighbor story?